Tick tack, it's my clock telling me I should get up. I should get up.
Hi, and welcome to The Conscious Loop, where woo-woo and the real world collide. I'm your host, Katrina DeAngelis. Join me as we explore what it looks like to live consciously almost always. Each episode, we dive into transforming mindsets and shifting paradigms through topics such as developing self-awareness, living authentically, communication, strengthening relationships, and leading from the inside out. If you're ready to break out of your unconscious loops and discover what else is possible, you came to the right place. You ready? Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful human. Today, I want to work with you on one unconscious loop that I'm sure we can all resonate with, which is seeking validation externally. So rather than seeking validation externally and outsourcing that, we want to be able to focus on insourcing our own validation, our own wisdom, and our own inner guidance. Now, the difference. Insourcing validation is going to be looking inwards for that approval, looking inwards for our own ability to navigate through conflict, through decision making, through big decisions in our life, through the work that we do, whatever it is, if we're working out, losing weight, it's insourcing that validation. Whereas outsourcing it is going to be seeking that validation from somebody else. So maybe it's somebody recognizing the weight that you've lost. Maybe it's your boss telling you that you did an amazing job on a presentation. Outsourcing validation is referring to seeking external validation for your self-worth, for your actions, for your decisions. It means that your confidence or sense of self, emotional state is going to be largely influenced by seeking either approval or disapproval from others or of others. This can range from praise, recognition at work, like I mentioned, acceptance by friends and family, people accepting and cheering you on for your decisions. It could be likes or comments on social media. So outsourcing validation can really impact your self-esteem because you're outsourcing that ability to manage your confidence, to seek validation for your self-esteem. It's dependent on someone else, which can really lead to anxiety and quite a lot of instability. So we want to bring more awareness to insourcing our own validation. And this can be through baby steps, right? It's starting to figure out where are the moments that you do tend to seek external validation rather than internal validation, and just starting to get curious about why is that and what would insourcing that look like. So now on the other hand, we have insourcing validation. So that's looking inwards for approval and validation. Maybe rather than going on social media or calling up a friend, it's going to be sitting down with your own thoughts, journaling out how you're feeling, having a bath, really feeling into your internal guidance and validation to make a decision. It involves trusting yourself, honoring your feelings, recognizing your inherent worth. And when you are insourcing this validation, you're going to rely on your own judgment first and foremost to assess your actions or decisions. You might still seek input from others and, appreciate the feedback that you get, but ultimately you're going to be grounded in your own inner guidance and your own validation. So people who tend to do this very often have a high sense of self or a strong sense of self. They are more often than not seen as independent, and they're not seeking other people's opinions or following social trends because they're really seeking and going by their own inner compass rather than outsourcing that. So insourcing validation is going to lead to more stable self-esteem, self-worth, authenticity, and really emotional resilience because it's not dependent on something outside of yourself. It's dependent on your own state, and that's something that you can always come back to. So let's dive into how to rewire your unconscious pattern of seeking external validation to more often seek your internal validation and internal guidance and insource that wisdom. So first, I want you to think about the moments throughout your day, throughout the week, that you tend to outsource your validation. Maybe when it comes to appearance, what you wear. Maybe it's making a big decision, where to live, what to buy in your house. Maybe it's what job you want to take on, how you want to present a project, your ideas. You need to get validation before feeling confident in expressing them. Think about the moments throughout the day and throughout the week where you are outsourcing that. And then start to get curious about what's preventing you from insourcing that. So more often than not, there are these intuitive nudges along the way throughout the day when we are trying to make a decision or we are outsourcing. And there's something that's preventing us from trusting that. Maybe your decision is not the norm, not the mainstream decision. And so you're seeking validation to maybe assure yourself that it's okay and that your decision is going to be praised or applauded and not rejected, right? Maybe you want to fit in, and so you want that external approval and validation that you look good in that outfit. Maybe you don't know how to have a really difficult conversation with your partner, and so you're outsourcing the validation from your friend to know that you're not losing your mind. So in each of these scenarios, there is a form of inner wisdom, inner guidance that is there within us. And I want to debunk this myth that we're not all intuitive, because we're all intuitive. You are intuitive. And so I think a lot of times, to keep yourself safe or to keep someone safe, you say, oh, like, I'm just not intuitive like that. I wish I was intuitive. But I believe that that is really just a way of, again, outsourcing validation, keeping yourself safe because you're like, well, I don't have intuition, so, I can't do it anyways. Everyone has it. I'll give you a simple example. Are you ever in a conversation with your friend and you're talking about something simple? Maybe it's, where do you want to go eat? Where do you want to go have dinner? And the options are pizza and sushi. And you go, I don't know, like, what do you want? Like, pizza could be good because they have like this really good tomato sauce and, and the sushi place is really good because they have the best sashimi in town. And intuitively, you kind of know that you're leaning towards one or the other, but you're playing it off as if you don't really care. You don't really know, like, you want them to make the decision for you. And then they go, yeah, let's do pizza. And all of a sudden in that moment, it's like you just got punched in the stomach and you're like, damn it. Yeah, I really wanted sushi. But it took them saying what they wanted to validate what you wanted, to really confirm what you already knew before. That is an example of how oftentimes we use other people to show us or tell us how we actually really feel, rather than being confident enough to make the decision or say what you want from the beginning. So just know that this is actually a tool that's used in coaching. A coach will sometimes say, well, I think you should do this. Like, how does that sound? And the person will do one of two things. Either one, they'll say, oh, yeah, no, actually, I think I want to do this. Or they'll say, yeah, you're right. I don't think I wanted to admit it, but that's exactly it. There was only two options. It was either you wanted to do it or you didn't. The only thing that the coach did was provide you an opportunity for your intuition to come forth, because it was either going to trigger it and say, nope, that's actually not what I want. Or it was going to be that voice that you were shoving down and denying because maybe you didn't want to admit it to yourself. But then somebody else saying it gave you the safety to admit it. And so that's an example of how a coach is going to pull out your own intuition. And so you can do that for yourself. If you're making a decision, write down on one piece of paper one decision, on the other piece of paper another decision, and then feel into this decision, this first decision. Listen to your inner voice, how your body feels, and then transition to the other decision on the other paper. Tune into that. How does your body feel? What intuition is coming up? Which one feels better? This is like just a really quick way to get into your body and feel your intuition to make a big decision. Even a simple example of clothes, right? We often, again, outsource validation from somebody else to tell us like, oh yeah, wear that outfit. You look amazing in that outfit. How many times have you worn an outfit because somebody said you looked amazing in it, but you felt way better and way more vibrant and way more yourself in the outfit that you left at home? You outsourced your validation. You outsourced that, somebody else telling you that you looked amazing was what you should wear because you looked better in that outfit. Whereas your inner wisdom would have been wearing the one that you felt amazing in, because that is the one that intuitively you're going to feel your best in, and you knew it. And you probably didn't realize until you were already out because you were uncomfortable, right? So insourcing, again, coming to that intuition, maybe you're denying it because you don't want to hear it. Maybe you know it, but you're scared to express it out loud. But just bringing awareness to these moments, and that's a great tool on how to do that. And so the more you can bring awareness to those moments, because they do happen often, pizza or sushi is, an example, but they happen throughout the day all the time. I'm sure at work, you have an idea. You don't want to say the idea because maybe it's a dumb idea. I don't know. Maybe it's, you don't want to say the wrong thing. And then somebody else says it and you're like, see, it was a good idea, but you didn't say it. So that's you holding yourself back, not trusting yourself, and outsourcing that validation. You're validated when somebody else shares the idea rather than you sharing the idea because you're confident in yourself and then getting the maybe approval from everyone else. But no, in that moment, you were validated by somebody else sharing the idea. And then you could go, I thought of that too. So yeah, I guess it was a good idea. But what's the difference in that scenario, right? If you don't share your idea, nobody's going to know you even had the idea. So again, it's that self-worth, it's that confidence, it's being confident in yourself and your own inner voice and your own wisdom, and not needing validation before moving in a direction, before saying what it is that you want, before expressing yourself. So that is your intuition. Those nudges, that gut feeling, intuition. So start to bring awareness to that. Now, I want to give you another example of feedback specifically, because again, a lot of the time that we're seeking validation is around feedback. Like we're asking somebody else for feedback, or maybe at work, you want feedback on something before you present it, or you are, kind of like beating around the bush about something and saying, hey, like, can you tell me what your thoughts are on this? And this is kind of what I'm thinking. And you're not trusting yourself, right? You don't have to have the answer. It's not about that. It's not about being a know-it-all, but it's about trusting yourself to speak up, trusting yourself to say something, trusting yourself to share an idea, express an idea, and know that no matter what the other person says, whether or not they say it's a shit idea or it's great, your self-esteem, your self-worth is not dependent on that, okay? Your self-worth doesn't change if they hate your idea. Okay, so that's the difference. The impact of feedback from somebody else is going to greatly differ depending on whether or not you're insourcing or outsourcing validation. If you are insourcing validation, then what feedback is going to do for you is it's going to help you improve. It's going to expand your ideas. It's going to either maybe confirm certain things that you thought and expand upon them, or just support you in getting to the next level. Now, if you are outsourcing validation and you get feedback, if you get good feedback, it's going to validate and confirm your self-worth, your self-esteem, give you a boost of confidence. However, if you get constructive feedback, it is going to impact your self-worth. It is going to have a negative impact on your experience. It's going to feel more personal. You're not going to feel as creative, expansive. It's not going to be a growth opportunity when you want it to be, right? We're always getting feedback, whether it's from friends, family, the world, right? There's always opportunities for feedback. So we want it to expand us. We want it to confirm we're on the right track, build on our creativity, rather than impact our emotional well-being, impact our self-esteem, our confidence, our power. That is internal, that is inside us. So we want to own that. And then let the feedback support us and guide us in continuing to evolve. Or even if we're not on the path that that other person wants, it's not going to matter because we are confident and grounded in our path and in our direction. If it's work and it's a project, we're going to use it to redirect, right? If it's a big life decision, we don't need their opinion. We don't need their feedback, right? It's also going to mean that you're taking feedback at the right times, because you want to take feedback if it's a collaborative effort or if it's at work or something that requires that constructive input. You don't necessarily need to follow feedback if it's a big life decision. You need to know what's good for you and insource that. And then somebody can share their opinion about something. And, like the saying goes, take it with a grain of salt. Sure, take their opinion, but don't be guided by it. Don't let it be your decision. Take it as information, take it as feedback, and let it build upon the decision that you make based on wanting to validate your own inner wisdom and inner guidance. So now I want to give you some tips to begin to insource validation more often. So we already talked about bringing awareness to the moments that you are outsourcing validation versus insourcing it. So that's step number one, right? Just bringing awareness to it. Where are the moments throughout your day and week that you are outsourcing versus insourcing? Next, focus on self-acceptance. So accept yourself for who you are. And I know that's easier said than done, but think about your strengths, what you're good at, who you are, what's beautiful about you, what do you love about yourself. Begin to cultivate self-acceptance, because the more you accept yourself for who you are, the beauty that you have, the heart that you have, your soul, your imperfections, all of the things, then the more grounded you're going to be in that inner validation. Nobody's perfect, right? We all make mistakes. Everyone is human. And if you're outsourcing your validation from someone, remember that they're also human. They're also making their own mistakes. They have their own journey. They have their own scars, their own traumas. Other people are going to give you feedback and opinion based on their own life and their own experience. So remember that we're all human. And so something that could also be helpful is, if you're seeking external validation and you're outsourcing that, ask yourself, if I was validating a friend right now, what would I say to that friend? Oftentimes, it's a lot easier for us to give love and validation to somebody else than it is to ourselves. So take you out of yourself for a moment and look at yourself as if you were looking at a friend. And what validation, what advice, what guidance would you say to that friend? Because that is your inner guidance, your inner wisdom. So next is set personal standards and reflect on your values. So your values are going to be things that are very important to you. Maybe that's being connected. Maybe that is honesty, transparency, growth. When you think and reflect on your values, you can begin to make decisions in alignment with those values. Because if they're important to you, then each decision that you consider or idea that you have, you're going to want to filter it through those values and those standards. When you think about standards, how that shows up at work, right? We might have a standard. Our standard might be that we're going to show up our best. We are going to deliver our best work. We are going to try. We're going to do the research. We're going to be resourceful. We're going to get creative. That's the standard of how you want to show up. So then that way, when you are delivering a project or you're sharing an idea, if you're holding yourself to your standard, then you know that you're always going to be doing your best. And that might change because you're going to have days that are worse than others. But the important piece is that you're holding yourself to that standard. Another tip is seeking internal feedback. So before you ask somebody else for feedback or before you seek validation, first ask yourself for that same feedback and listen to what you have to say. Now, you can still seek the other feedback or the validation, but what you did is at least you seeked yourself first. And the more that you do this, the more trust that you're going to build with yourself and the more confidence and esteem that you're going to build with yourself. And you'll find you'll need the external validation or seek it less and less and less frequently. And the final tip I will leave you with is cultivating mindfulness. So oftentimes our inner wisdom or our inner self needs space to emerge. If we are constantly overwhelmed and busy and overstimulated and there's always people around or we're always in conversation with someone, we're not giving ourselves that space to have our inner wisdom or our inner potential or our highest self or any of these messages really emerge. That's why oftentimes you find, you're in the shower and you have the best idea, or you're half asleep and all of a sudden your brain is like going wild with all of these thoughts and ideas and things that you want to do and goals that you want to achieve, right? You needed that space to just turn down a little bit so that you can allow all of that wisdom to emerge. So cultivate mindfulness, whether it's through 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes of meditation, bringing awareness to your breath, having that space of 1 to 2 minutes before outsourcing that validation, just giving yourself a little bit more space before seeking it externally and giving yourself mindful moments and opportunities throughout the day. I know for me, I cannot live without my bath. I need a bath honestly probably once a day. And the reason is that it's my opportunity to let my brain come back down to earth a little bit, my body to come back down to earth, and then all of my creativity begins to emerge. So giving myself that space each day really helps me stay grounded in myself. In summary, we want to put in a conscious effort to insource our own validation. When we outsource our validation, this is going to shape our self-worth, our decisions, and even our identity. And we want that to be guided by our inner being, our highest self, our true self. And so when you think about who you want to be, who you are at your core, your authenticity, these are the types of things that you want to validate internally. We might feel good when other people approve us, and then when we don't feel good when they don't approve us. But there's a catch here, right? This leaves our self-esteem at the mercy of others. We become performers in our life rather than living authentically. So rather than performing to get the likes and acceptance from other people, perform for you, tune into you, and live life from that place of inner guidance, inner authenticity, inner validation, and being grounded in yourself. So I will leave you with that, and I hope that this helps rewire you to break free of the unconscious loop and unconscious pattern of outsourcing your validation and really beginning to bring conscious awareness to insource your validation and live the most authentic, expressive, confident version of yourself. We'll see you next time on The Conscious Loop. Like what you heard and want more? Stay connected with our community on social media using the links below. Like us on your favorite podcast provider and sign up for the Conscious Loop newsletter, where we only send you goodies with one intent: to break your unconscious loops. If you have an unconscious loop you want to break free from, let us know so we can feature that loop on the show. Info and show notes, and we'll see you next time in the Conscious Loop.